Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here on the 8th episode of The Corner Office. I've got something special in store for you today. We're coming to you live from Grace O'Malley's out of Toronto, where Safety NetAccess hosted our 2017 high-tech party featuring Signal Hill. That was a great night. One of our two guests tonight, yep, you heard me correct, two guests tonight, actually danced with his wife behind me. It was pretty spectacular. That guest would be Paul Paolisso, Director of Vertical Programs from Corning. And in addition, we have Steve Letke, Solutions Architect, also from Corning, joining him. So please, folks, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. And remember, tonight you get two Steves for the price of one. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy. Welcome, both of you, to the show. What are you both drinking today?
Well, in honor of the trip that we took to our whole family to Italy this summer, I got into a couple of, are you seeing it?
Yep.
A Moretti and a Peroni. After all the great wine we had, I tried these over there and found them at our local establishment and was able to bring these in. They're nice and refreshing and they're light. But being with two beer connoisseurs, you know, it was a tough pick. I know with you, with all your Canadian specialties, and with Steve with all his IPAs. I mean, I'm in tough company here.
Exactly.
For sure. Steve, how about you?
I've got with me today, it's a darker beer. It's by Founders. It's the Founders Breakfast Stout. And I do drink a lot of different beers, but I wasn't quite sure what time we were going to record this, so I went with the Breakfast Stout. That way I could do either a morning time or the afternoon. So Founders is also important to me just because I have a fraternity brother who's on the executive board for Founders Brewery outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I kind of like to support him when I can. So it's nice.
Very cool. Well, you know, beer is the breakfast of champions, I do believe. So
That's right. There you go.
That sounds good.
What are you drinking?
Well, myself, I'm actually drinking a Dirty Blonde from 9 Lots Brewing here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada, of course. So it's a great beer, great taste. You know, just a good all-around drinking beer. So,
Perfect.
Cheers!
You got a few breweries around there, right?
We do have a few. Us Nova Scotians do like to drink. So,
Yep.
cheers to both.
Cheers. Good to be here.
All right, so let's get right into some of the tougher questions, of course. Paul, we'll start with you. Can you tell me about your best hotel experience that you ever had?
Well, I won't say it was my best, but it's memorable. My wife and I, she actually booked our honeymoon 46 years ago to Puerto Rico. And the first night we checked into a beautiful place right on the beach. And with the idea the next day we were going out to a resort at the end on the far east corner. If I said it, you would all know it, but a gorgeous place. So it just so happened that about 3 years ago, we had some friends, a friend of ours was getting engaged and they were throwing the engagement party in Tortola. And I had no idea where Tortola was. I thought it was something he ate. But we went, 10 couples, and we had to fly through San Juan. So I said, sweetheart, we're going to stay for the first night, the same place we stayed on the second night, or first night of our honeymoon. So I booked it, took good care of it. We're driving up to the place. She looks at me. She said, have we ever been here before? I said, well, it's been 40-some years ago. I mean, you know, the place has changed. I said, but yeah, I'm sure this is it. So we go in. I'm in the wrong hotel. So what I told them what I asked for and where we were staying before. And they said, oh, that's 12 miles down the beach. So anyway, I said, you do have a beach here? No, she said, yeah, we're right on the beach. I said, okay. I said, sweetheart, we're going to enjoy this just like we did the other one. So that's one of my more memorable ones.
What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm going to go back a ways. This is when I was a kid. Now, I grew up in a town called Perrysburg, Ohio, just in the breadbasket, if you will, and a corn belt. And there was a hotel, it was a Holiday Inn, Holidome. They call it the French Quarter. It's not there anymore, but it was literally, I could have walked to it from my house. That's how close it was to my house. But my aunt would come in with my cousins and she would get a room. And this was kind of those scenarios where you have like an open area inside and the pool's inside there. And there's like a putt-putt There's places to order food. There's an arcade. I think there was a sauna. You could swim indoors and outdoors. And I just remember this as a kid, even though it was like right next to my house, it was just so fun to be able to go right across the street and just hang out and all day, just having fun as a kid. So I just remember that, never forget that. It was a really good time.
Well, let's get on to the next section then, which is, of course, best joke or pun. Paul, what do you got for us?
Well, you said a dad joke, so I'm going to.
That joke works.
Sort of a corny dad joke, but it's real. It's a real one. When my daughter graduated from college, she graduated with honors, and we were all up there. My wife, my two sons, and I. She graduated Bucknell, and she come off the stage, and I said, "Sweetheart," I says, "I'm so proud of you. We've got one more thing in common." And she said, "What was that? What's that, Dad?" And I said, "Well, we both graduated college with honors." So now she looks at my wife's looking at her, the two boys are looking at each other. I said, "Yeah, you graduated summa cum laude from Bucknell, and I graduated seat of the pants from Syracuse." Well, it fell pretty flat, but they sort of got it,
At least you got out of there. It's good times.
You got out. Well, I got out too, but it took me 6 years. It took her 3.5.
Hey, I got to tell you, grade 4 was the best 5 years of my life. So,
Grade 4.
All right, Steve, your turn. Tell me your best joke.
Okay. All right. So there's a cop, and he's following this car. He's a Georgia cop, and all of a sudden he sees the plate on this car. It's an Alabama tag. And he pulls the car over because it was doing some suspicious driving, right? And so he pulls him over, gets up to the car, walks up there. The guy rolls down his window. Cop goes to the guy in the car. He goes, "You got any ID?" And then that guy from Alabama looks up and goes, "About what?" That's it. Get it? I hope I don't have to explain it, because it's like it's not as funny if I have to explain it.
Thanks now.
No, I get it. I get it.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. I'm not doing any more. I'm not doing any more jokes.
Okay. Well, that's probably best for all of us.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what Corning's been doing to combat the COVID-19 crisis.
Well, the first thing that we did in our division at Corning Optical Communications is we shut down the new headquarters building. It's about 10 miles from Charlotte Airport. And you should have to get down and see that when things get operational again, Steven. Beautiful. So everybody's been working remote from home, which caused a little anxiety for the first few weeks because it was a stress on the network, but things have worked out really well with that. And around the world, most of our plants have been considered essential infrastructure and essential for what we do in public welfare and health. So they have continued to work with, limited staff, essential staff, with everybody else working from home. But if you've ever been one of these fiber cable plants or a fiber plant, there's a lot of automation. So people are spread out a pretty good distance. So they have had pretty good track record of being able to sustain. And also done, Steve and Matt Bio last week from Marriott did one of our See the Light seminars, which was focused on power and fiber deep, and had great turnout, over 300 people, and got good reception. And we're also doing a lot of training. I've been tracking the HTNG COVID calls, and I sit on the HTNG vendor advisory board. So we have our meetings every week right now while this thing's going on.
As far as some of the stuff we've been doing, since we've been kind of stuck in the office and not doing visits out to customers, which we do a lot, been doing a lot of virtual stuff, kind of like this, but it's been a lot of virtual trainings. And at Corning, we have a lot of trainings that we actually do a lot of face-to-face stuff. And they come in, they either suitcase it to a location or they come into our corporate office, but now they've been just virtualizing all of that. So we've been taking part in some of those. I do a lot of the SD-LAN and fiber deep training. We've been doing that for different different types of installers that are out there, our MPI programs, Bixby type of credit stuff. So we've been doing a lot of that work. Also, Paul mentioned HD&G. On the fiber to the room work group, we actually got something you guys are interested in as well, which is specifically to fiber to the room and its second day support. So kind of like ongoing support and how that might be different and how companies like yourself can take advantage of it. So those that are answering the phone, when they see a potential issue, what's the triage kind of way to take care of your customers that have a fiber deep type of solution. So that's been one of the requests that's out there. So we've been focused on that. So that's one thing we're doing during this time, which I think is time well spent. Other things that Corning's doing though, if you weren't aware, Corning's got a lot of different divisions. In fact, there's like 5 divisions, and they have a life sciences group. They have specialty glass, to name a few. We're part of Corning Optical Communications. So that's the fiber and on all the communication side. But on the science and technical side with what's going on they're very close to this COVID-19 pandemic. And especially being up in New York, which is where we're headquartered. So they've got like a group that they co-invented 3D molded type of face shields that they made. And they donated 2,000 of those to area-wide hospitals in the New York area. They also donated like 60,000 Falcon 15 milliliter centrifuge tubes and 40,000 cryogenic vials to the New York State laboratory. And then they also did coordination in Italy with Infratel to donate 100,000 pipettes. So all these labs need all this stuff. And so they've been donating these materials. And they've also, if you haven't heard, we've got like this antimicrobial glass. So they have an antimicrobial type of product that's called Guardiant. They worked with Nippon Nippon Paint in China, and they donated some of the materials for that type of paint to China. And it's about $700,000 worth of US dollars of paint they donated so they could paint these first responder areas. So those are some of the things that Corning's been working on. So it's kind of like we in this area just doing fiber and communications, but there's like a whole nother division that's doing a lot of cool stuff.
Very, very cool. Yeah. And I mean, definitely for Corning to give back in the way that you folks are, that's great. That speaks volumes. So that's good. I've also noticed, of course, your Corning at Home series. I think you've both done a little showcase on that as well.
Everybody did something, and I did something on guest satisfaction and how a fiber power deep network of the future will help make your guest satisfaction scores go up and bring your guests back to help drive RevPAR.
Very cool.
So,
very cool. What's the first thing you folks are both planning on doing? And Paul, we'll start with you. After this all ends, after life gets back to normal, both personally and professionally, are you now with your video star fame? Are you going to go be a hand model, or what are you going to?
No, I think the first thing I'm going to do is get a haircut. You can't tell from here, but it's growing clear down my back right now. And then I'm going to go and seek out my 5 grandchildren, 2 up in Boston, 4 and 2-year-old, and hug them and their mother and father, and the 3 down here in Maryland and hug them. We've been able to see these 3 because they come over and they sit out in the yard and we keep proper distance. But having those touch points is really something that we miss. And then, getting back on the road, which is what I'm sure all of us in this in our business expect to do.
Well, for sure. Yeah, getting back on the road is key. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think one of the things we had planned for spring break was to go to the beach. So that got cut short and we had to cancel that. I think if once these things lift, we're going to try to get a beach trip in. We're actually going to the mountains this weekend, which you can kind of get away and do some hiking, which is nice. But being able to go down and stay at a beach location, a hotel or a condo or something would be great. That's one thing. And then my son I have 4 kids, and my youngest son just graduated from high school. So that whole graduation thing has been kind of postponed. So looking forward to that. Right now it's set for July. And we're looking forward to that, and hopefully everything will stay according to plan for that right now. So that's what I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, congrats to your son for graduating. That's great.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Where do you both see the industry going after this? The next year, 2 years, 3 years?
Well, like yourself, I'm sitting on a lot of calls, and I sit on those weekly calls, as I mentioned, HT&G COVID calls, where you have a lot of the hoteliers on it. And I sense there's a guarded optimism. I mean, everybody's eager and anxious to get back into business. But I think the next 6 months to a year are really going to be critical. I took over the Marriott account when I was at Nextel right after 9/11. And then over the next 3 years, handled Starwood, Hyatt, Intercontinental, Four Seasons, and Avendra. So I was pretty close, but that wasn't as deep as this is. And then we went through the period in 2008, with people experiencing tough times, but that was able to bounce back. I think the key is to get the confidence back of the travelers, whether it be the leisure traveler or the business traveler. And I sense in listening to the CIOs talk and to other thought leaders in the industry that they're looking for this testing to occur and to give people cold comfort, and some sort of therapeutic solution to offset any of the effects of the disease. So I'm optimistic it'll be back, but it's a question of how soon. And so I think I would just assess the mood as guarded optimism.
I feel like starting out, they're probably like regional travel. Maybe not so much where you got a large group coming into central areas and these large convention style setups and events, but maybe more regionalized, smaller events. I could see that happening. From a Corning's perspective, we're kind of waiting for that to happen, and we'll need kind of approvals and things in order to get out there and do it. I foresee that happening, and on a personal level, though, like I mentioned, that beach trip, I almost feel like I would be comfortable as long as I knew things were open and available, and they had procedures to keep things safe and clean, all that. That's kind of different than going to a big convention. So there's kind of like levels and phases of this. So looking forward to this, and I totally agree with Paul. It's like once people get confidence back and feeling safe and you know how treatment's going to happen, it'll alleviate some of this, and then it'll be phased approach.
And I think there's going to be a big play for technology. You hear about the mobile check-in, mobile key, the things that we've been talking about. Touchless TV was a term that I heard last week or 2 weeks ago. Well, those are all things that we enable with our fiber to the room solution. So, the great thing about it is that we provide that pathway, and we welcome all of these new solutions, whether it's IoT, all the solutions with IoT devices, and then 5G, of course. So, we welcome the challenge to meet all of those new products coming online.
Thank you both, of course, for being here on the Corner Office. I greatly appreciate it. It's great chatting with you. It's always been, great discussing with both of you and having lots of fun and discussions and talking about Halifax and everything else that we talked about in the past. So cheers, both of you. Thank you very much.
Cheers, and thank you, Steven.
Well, that's a wrap for episode 8 of the Corner Office. I hope you enjoyed it. Additionally, great big thanks to both Paul and Steve for being my guests. I've included their LinkedIn profiles below should you wish to contact them or get any more information from them. Additionally, special thanks to Corning. Their website, of course, is www.corning.com. For more information on Safety NetAccess, our products and our services, please visit us at www.safetynetaccess.com. Additionally, if you've been enjoying what we've been doing this last month or so, please don't hesitate to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, be safe, be well, and hey, don't forget to be happy. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.